First of all, thank you to Judge Levine. I'm very honored that he was willing to come and introduce me, and for all the kind remarks, most of which were true. I appreciate all that. I know you spent a great deal of time preparing for this, and I'm very touched. I thank you. And thank you to the Alumni Association for this award. I share Professor McLean's sentiments. I had the exact same reaction when I had that call from Mimi Lyons. It seemed awkward. It seems incongruous to receive an award for doing something that you love to do. And I want to certainly say thank you to all of you for being here tonight. There's so many of you who have touched me and helped me over the years. Professor Kalancic, I enjoyed your classes so much, and I've had the occasion now to correspond with him in my current capacity as he has offered me law clerks, although it's hard to find one that'll drive all the way to Litchfield. But, Professor McGill, who I worked for in several of his classes, and when I applied for a clerkship, he, in a weak moment, agreed to write a letter of recommendation. I'm so grateful to him because when I interviewed with the judge who hired me, he commented on that letter. It affected him, and that made a huge difference in my life and all the things that followed that clerkship. So I owe a debt of gratitude to all of those professors at the University of Connecticut School of Law, and also to so many of my classmates who, a great many of you are here tonight. You should be home with your families, but I'm really glad that you came. It's wonderful to see you all, and some of you I haven't seen for so long. It's a great night. As I said, I felt awkward about this. I served with the United States Attorney's Office and loved it. There are many of you here who were my colleagues at the time, and you know what it feels like to work in that office. A friend of mine often says that he thought every time he stood up in the United States District Court and introduced himself at the opening of a case and said his name and then said, "I represent the United States," that he never failed to appreciate what that meant, that it was an enormous responsibility, it was a great privilege, and that is what I loved about being a prosecutor, that you're an advocate for the government, but there were times when it was your obligation to not bring a case. The right thing to do would sometimes be to dismiss a case that you had brought. A veteran defense lawyer once said to me, "Even when the government loses, it wins." And I knew exactly what he meant, and that's the great thrill and wonderful thing about being an assistant United States attorney. And then my next responsibility with the Connecticut Department of Public Safety was an incredible and amazing experience. I was given the opportunity to do what I could to support and help some of the most amazing people I have ever met in my life. The department certainly consists of its well-known division, the Connecticut State Police, the 1,200 troopers, not quite 1,200 at the moment, but hopefully we'll get back there. But there's 1,700 employees in that department. There are 500 civilians. And the department performs many tasks, many of which are not well known to the public. The department includes the boiler inspectors for the state and the building inspector and the state fire marshal's office, and is responsible for our E911 system, which is rated as one of the best in the country. All of those responsibilities were handled by, overseen by one man who was here tonight, Director Rob Ross, who has moved on from the department and is now the fire chief in Middletown. Then I had the chance to work for, as I said, the troopers, who, like those in the fire service, have committed themselves to putting themselves at risk for you and for me and for my family and for people they don't know. We all have heard that expression, and it's something of a cliche, but it's really good once in a while to think about what that really means. Who does that? And I had the chance to work with 1,700 people who were dedicated to keeping you safe. Anything that I could do for them to help them made my life more meaningful and richer. Nothing would have happened, though, without the command staff in particular, many of whom are here tonight. The command staff are all chiefs elsewhere now. Colonel Thomas Daverin, who was in charge of the Division of Connecticut State Police, who's now the chief in Groton. Lieutenant Colonel Gene Labonte, who is now chief up at Salem University in Massachusetts, and Lieutenant Colonel Chris Arciero, who's the chief of police in Canton. They were an incredible unit and wonderful people to work with. I also am honored to have with me here tonight my chief of staff, who was still with the department, who was Lieutenant Ed Hennion, is now Major Ed Hennion, and who saved me every single day. There were a number of ideas I had that he said, "So are you sure you really want to do that?" And he was always right. So that was an incredible opportunity. I'm so honored that they're here tonight. I consider them not only my colleagues, but my friends, and I will always feel that way. And finally, now, working as a judge of the Connecticut Superior Court, and many of my colleagues surprised me by being here tonight. And some of them, Judge Danaher had the same experience I did working for Governor Rell, and knows what that work can be like. To work as a judge, for those of you who are trial lawyers, the opportunity to participate in the quintessential human drama that is a trial without the responsibility of having to win is amazing. Again, those of you who are trial lawyers, I promise you, it's like this. The jury's coming back with a verdict, and I'm sitting there going, I wonder who won. Not what you're thinking, I know. My responsibility now is to do the best I can to make sure that the proceedings are fair, and I have so much respect for that. It's clearly something that I will spend the rest of my life trying to learn to do well. But I have great mentors. The judges I work with are just remarkable and wonderful people, and a number of them are here tonight. So, in summary, as I said, I feel awkward accepting this. But I am going to accept it for two reasons. First, it's a great-looking plaque. And second, I'm going to accept it on behalf of the people who truly deserve it. As you know, public service is not the pathway to riches, at least if you do it the right way. And I, in a way, indulged myself by this career. And those who paid the price and perhaps would have been better supported, at least financially, if I had taken a different direction, are my family. And they would have been justified, perhaps, in not being totally supportive. But that's not what happened. They have all backed me with every decision I've made to pursue these different careers. And since they're the ones who paid the price, it's on their behalf that I will accept this plaque. As Judge Levine said, our daughters couldn't be here. They're up in Boston. Very pleased that our sons, Brendan and Austin, are here. And most of all, sorry boys, the most important one, my wife Ann, who has put up with a great deal over the years. She could tell you stories, but I'm sure you all have to go home soon, so there's no time. But in summary, I am very grateful for this award. I thank you all, and I'm very deeply honored, and thank you.